Hello friends, welcome to the first lecture on economy for combined MPSC English medium batch. So today we'll be going live with the first lecture for this batch combined MPSC English medium. As you know, SuPrabha Academy, it specializes in delivering MPSC courses in English medium. So today for Group B, Group C exam, we'll be starting with economy. Economy is a very important aspect. As I told you in the last demo lectures, they are going to ask you economy in prelims as well as in mains, and one or two questions about economy they can also pop up in the PSI interview. You have interview only for PSI, so economy becomes very important subject. Before we start with the actual topic today, one thing is that you need to know two aspects of economy. Questions will be based only on two aspects. One is your understanding of the concept, तुमचं कन्सेप्टचं अंडरस्टँडिंग किती चांगलं आहे, and second is factual data. ओके, तर क्लासमध्ये आता मी फॅक्च्युअल डेटा पण देईल, पण क्लासमध्ये शक्यतो जास्त भर आहे ना कन्सेप्च्युअल अंडरस्टँडिंगवर द्या. ओके, गो फॉर द कन्सेप्च्युअल अंडरस्टँडिंग ऑफ दिस टॉपिक. ओके, इफ द कन्सेप्च्युअल अंडरस्टँडिंग इज गुड, द फॅक्च्युअल डेटा बिकम्स easy to mug up. Okay, factual data becomes easy to mug up. So whenever I am explaining something, please pay minute attention to it. Okay, and once the explanation is over, once you grasp the topic, then you can definitely jump to the factual data. Okay, so today we'll start with economy, some of the basic concepts. Okay, the basic concepts of economy. First is there are two types of economies. One is a capitalist economy, other is a socialist economy. What are these two types of economies, and India as such, Indiaची position काय ते आपण बघू. So two types of economies. At one end of the spectrum you have a capitalist economy, at one end of the spectrum you have a socialist economy. काय फरक आहे दोन्हीमध्ये? कॅपिटलिस्ट इकॉनॉमी जर का बघितली, कॅपिटलिस्ट इकॉनॉमी, तर कॅपिटलिस्ट इकॉनॉमीमध्ये, इन कॅपिटलिस्ट इकॉनॉमी, ऑल द मीन्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन इट गोज only with the private players. The private players, they own all the means of production. Whatever is produced, whether it is goods or services, whatever is produced in the economy, it is produced by the private player. Government has no role in production. Anything, railways, airways, steel, cement, whatever, construction, whatever, even the buses which ply between the cities, the states, all the buses, okay, even these buses are owned by private players. So whatever goods and services are produced in the economy, they are produced by the private players. That is a typical definition of a capitalist economy. And then on the other hand, what is a socialist economy? It is very logical. Now, if capitalist, everything is owned by the private players, socialist madhe, in socialist economy, everything will be owned by the government. Each and every production is done by the government. Whatever you want to produce, whether it's goods or services, it's by the government. You want medical facilities, government hospitals. You want education, government colleges and schools. You want railways, government. You want airways, government. You want iron and steel, only government industries. So whatever is produced in the economy, it goes with the ownership is with the government. That is a socialist economy. And on the other hand, we have a capitalist economy where everything is owned, all the means of production are owned by the private players. So what are the characteristics of these? If you look at the capitalist economy first, this is based on private ownership of the means of production. Okay, and this operation of capitalist economy is for profit. This needs to be understood. Okay, this needs to be understood that whatever is produced in the capitalist economy, it is for profit. Okay, Reliance, they launched Jio. Why? Profit. Adani is entering into aviation sector. Why? Profit. Mahindra manufacturing cars. Why? Profit. So if a private player wants to establish something, that is basically only for profit, and it is very logical that if you establish a business, it has to sustain, it has to be profitable. So the whole and sole motive of a private player entering into business is profit. If you compare it with socialist economy where government owns everything, the whole and sole motive of government is not profit but for equitable distribution. Government wants to distribute everything to each and every person in the economy so that they get at least a minimum decent standard of living. For example, in socialist economy you have state transport buses. wherein females in Maharashtra, the females, they have got half ticket. So why does the government do this? Because the government wants the females to be active, economically active in the society. They want more economic participation of females, and that's the reason they have given half tickets for females. The rate for ticket for females is half. So in a socialist economy, it is not for profit. Profit is not the whole and sole motive, but in a capitalist economy, definitely profit is the motive. This is one of the oldest economic systems. Now, if you recollect, even in ancient India, the king was governing. Okay, ancient times the king used to govern, and there were various guilds or organizations, okay, where merchants used to trade. So production even at that time was with private players. The administration and governance was only left with the king. So this is one of the oldest economic system. Okay, now the modern capitalist economy, it started during the mid 18th century. It has the following features: private property, capital accumulation, wage labor. This is very important, wage labor. In a capitalist economy, the owner is going to employ labor and provide wages to the labor. Okay, so there is wage labor over here. And yes, a private player will go for capital accumulation. Then you have voluntary exchange. Now this is one of the principal features of a capitalist economy. I have got a subscription of, let's say, VI. Okay, Vodafone Idea. Fine. Nobody has forced me to go for that subscription. I have voluntarily gone for VI. Agar mujhe VI pasand nahi hai, if I don't want VI, I can immediately switch to Airtel. I can switch to Reliance. I can switch to BSNL. Okay, so there is a voluntary exchange. No one is going to force you. Socialist economy, you don't have any other option. If today it is only the government which is going for, let's say, buses, okay, state transport buses. If you have only this one means of transport, state transport buses, there is no voluntary exchange. You will have to accept what the government gives, because the government is delivering it to you at a cheaper rate, at a subsidized rate. Fine. So there is no voluntary exchange. You just accept what the government delivers in a socialist economy. But over here, it is voluntary exchange. Then profit is the motive. We have already seen this point. Price mechanism and competitive markets. Now this has to be understood. In a capitalist economy, the price of a commodity, and this forms the base of economy, the price of a commodity is based on demand and supply. Okay. Anything you take in a capitalist economy, it is based on demand and supply. So what do you have? Tata Nano. When it was launched, there was less demand, so it was launched at a low price. But as and when the demand for Tata Nano car, it increased, the price started scaling up. 1.5 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 4 lakh, 5 lakh. Okay, that was the last quoted price of Tata Nano, because the demand increase. So the price mechanism is totally based on demand and supply of that commodity when it is a capitalist economy. Socialist economy madhe aisa nahi hota hai. Okay, in socialist economy, the price mechanism is fixed by the government. It is the government which is going to deliver. The ticket, the railway ticket between this junction to that junction is so and so. Maharashtra government state transport bus tickets, it's fixed by the government. It will not fluctuate according to demand. Whether it's Diwali season or the Eid season or the Christmas season, heavy rush, even at that time, the state transport bus tickets will remain the same. But if you look at a private player who is plying the buses from this place to that place, during Diwali, when there is heavy rush, Ganpati season, when there is heavy rush, the price of the ticket, it increases like anything, because the demand is high. Okay, so whenever it is owned by private, whenever you have private ownership of the means of production, the price of that product would be more based on demand and supply. Okay, but whenever it is a socialist economy where the government is delivering the product, the price will not fluctuate. The price will not fluctuate. Fine. Then, consumer is the king in a capitalist economy, because you have voluntary exchange. No one is going to force you. So consumer is the king. If today I feel that, okay, my VI phone is VI service provider, they are not giving me good service, I can immediately move to, there is number portability, I can immediately port my number to Airtel. So when I do this, the VI customer care will definitely call me, sir, hum aapko ye free denge, wo free denge. Why? Because they want to retain the customer. Okay, the customer is the king over here in a capitalist economy. That is not the case in the socialist economy. We have to accept whatever the government delivers. Fine. So consumer is the king. There is no government interference, and this is known as the laissez-faire state. Government will not ask Mahindra to produce how many Scorpios, or it will not direct anybody to produce any amount of vehicles or whatever product they are manufacturing in a private sector. Fine. Now I am also working in a private sector. This academy is a private sector. So government cannot dictate that, okay, you are going to conduct just one lecture in a day. No. I can produce n number of lectures, I can produce n number of notes, whatever I want. Okay, government cannot dictate, but it's a government college. Government will definitely have the norms. Okay, fine, you are going to work for this many hours. Okay, you're going to produce only this much. That's all. Fine. So there is no government interference in a capitalist economy, that is known as laissez-faire. And yes, capitalist economy does promote self-interest. Meri Dubai ki shopping. Okay, all these things are promoted in a capitalist economy. So you earn money in a capitalist economy, you gain profit, and then you spend like anything. Okay, you accumulate wealth. So there is always self-interest in a capitalist economy. So this is a capitalist economy. On the other hand, you have the socialist economy, where there is democratic control of means of production. That means even if the government controls, the government is elected via democracy. So there is democratic control of the means of production, which may mean autonomous cooperatives or direct public ownership, wherein production is carried out by or directly for use. Production is not going to be there for profit, it is for direct consumption. So what will the government do? Suppose this is the class. Okay, this is a class, and this class is a country, and it's a socialist economy. So what will the government do? How many students are there? 50 students are there. So this economy has got 50 population size 50. Government will then produce only for consumption. So 50 people, what do they need? They will need something like 100 to 200 pairs of shirts. Okay, so 100 pieces of shirts, 200 pieces of shirts will be manufactured, and it will be distributed. Fine. What do they need? They need some 200 notebooks. So only 200 notebooks will be manufactured, and they will be distributed. So it is not for profit. It is for directly for use. The production is directly for use. So it has the following features: public or collective ownership, central planning. Since the government, there is one authority which is owning everything, it is controlling all the production. Okay, that authority will be always having a central planning of the economy. Fine, so that is rightly so. Look at China, still socialist. So there is a central high-handedness which is going to control everything over there. So there is central planning of the economy. Emphasis on equality and economic security. So government will try to provide to those who don't have something, or they are below poverty line. Okay, or there is inequality. For example, there is gender inequality in India. So what does the government of Maharashtra do? Okay, in school education, free education for girls, state transport buses, half ticket. Okay, so this is practiced for equality and economic security, and the goal of socialism is class reduction, reduce the gap between haves and have-nots. See, in capitalism, what happens is that a basic understanding of capitalism is you have the largest slum of Asia in Mumbai, that is Dharavi. And within a radius of 5 to 10 kilometers itself, you have the costliest place to live in on earth, that is okay. So this is the stark reality of capitalism, because in capitalism a person will try to earn profit as much as possible. But in socialist economy, what will the government do? If government is owning everything, they will provide a money, okay, very well respectable house, and they will also try to uplift the poor from the Dharavi slums. Okay, so that is the goal of socialist economy: class reduction, Fine. So this was the basic concept of capitalism and socialism. Now, where does India stand? India is a mixed economy. Now you need to understand everything. Since independence, India was a mixed economy. Mixed economy in the sense we had private players as well as the government sector both coexisting. That is known as mixed economy. Okay, so you had Tata Steel. It was established before independence. Okay, and along with that, the Indian government also established its own iron and steel plants. So both coexisting, that is a mixed economy. But before 1991, okay, one thing you need to understand over here, before 1991, Mixed economy was more tilted towards socialism. So apart from few sectors where government needed private help, okay, most of the sectors were owned only by the government. For example, at that time there was only one telephone company, government company, which used to provide telephone connections. Okay, there was only one airways, the Indian Airlines, Maharaja, the Indian Airlines, okay, which was providing air traffic and all those things, the commuting means of airways to the government. So we were more tilted towards socialism. Today also we are a mixed economy. Okay, today also we are a mixed economy. Fine. Okay, you have Reliance Petroleum as well as you have the ONGC, BPCL, okay, IOCL, all these companies which are selling petroleum. Some of them are in government, some of them are in private sector. So both of them coexisting. So it's a mixed economy. But today we are post 1991. We are more tilted towards capitalism. Okay, 1991 nantar, post 1991, we are more tilted towards capitalism. Fine. One second. Let me check. Okay. So this is the mixed economy scenario in India. Previously, from 1947 itself, we are a mixed economy, but previously we were more tilted towards socialism. The socialism character was more seen in Indian economy. Today, the capitalist character is more seen in Indian economy. See, we have sold the airlines. The government today does not own any airlines. Okay, so who all are there in the airlines? It's all private players. Fine. So even if you look at the road transport, okay, you have the government buses, but along with that, you have many private players which are following the same route as the government buses. Telephone, yes, you do have BSNL, MTNL, but apart from that, most of the subscription is taken by Reliance, VI, Airtel. Okay, so today we are seeing more of capitalists. Today, more and more private players are coming forward and they are churning the economy. What happened in 1991? ये हम बाद में करेंगे. So mixed economy, socialist and capitalist, public and private both coexist. Public sector is mostly seen in social service. So where do you see public sector? Mostly in providing education. Okay, mostly in health sector. Okay, provide health facilities to the poor people. So in social sector, you will find more of the government, whereas in production, all other production now it is the private player. Okay. Fine. Then dual economy. Dual economy. Kindly understand the difference between dual economy and mixed economy. Mixed economy, public and private both coexist. Dual economy, okay, you have traditional as well as modern means of production, that is known as a dual economy. Okay, both the types of production is seen. So it is basically a characteristic of underdeveloped or developing economy that you can see traditional as well as both modern means of production. So what do you see? In agriculture, plowing is done with the help of bullocks. बैलाची जोडी घ्यायची आणि शेत नांगरायचं. Okay, so plowing is done with the help of bullocks. That is a very traditional practice. But in the same agriculture field, today we see that modern means of production are used to produce cheese, to produce those tomato ketchup, okay, to pack them in an airtight container. Okay, so traditional as well as modern means of production seen in economy is dual economy. Kindly differentiate, see to it that you know the meaning, differentiate the concept between mixed economy and dual economy. Exam में confusion होने वाला है. Okay, in exam it will be a big confusion. Okay, see, again I am telling you, wherever it's a concept, be very thorough with the concept, and then you are going to mug up the data. Economy is very easy. So first try to grasp the concepts. Okay, then according to business, sectors of the economy according to business. Okay, so next basic concept is, because I will be using these words every now and then, capitalist, socialist, primary sector, secondary sector, so it's better to understand these concepts beforehand itself. Okay, so according to business, what are different types of sectors? First is the primary sector. First is the primary sector. Primary sector is one which is based on nature. Okay, it is based on nature. So whatever we get from nature, that falls in primary sector. So what do you get from nature? Food crops, agriculture, horticulture, everything. Forest produce, fisheries, Okay, all these things you get from nature. So agriculture, animal husbandry, mining, this is all primary sector. What do you have in secondary sector? Whenever you apply technology on what you get in from primary sector and you produce something, that is the secondary sector. So from primary sector, you are going to get cotton, agriculture produce. You apply technology and you manufacture garments. That becomes a secondary manufacturing sector. So secondary sector is mostly manufacturing. Okay, electricity production, construction, water supply. Okay, this falls in the secondary sector. Fine. Next, you have the tertiary sector. Primary sector as well as secondary sector, whether it's agriculture or whether it's a textile industry. Okay, both of them are going to need banking services. Both of them are going to need telecommunication services. So these services, okay, transport services, both of them will require transport to carry the goods from one place to another. So this sector, which is going to provide service to the primary and secondary sector, that is the tertiary sector, it is also known as the service sector. Today, service sector is the prime, the foremost sector which is delivering the economy. Okay, more than 50% of the contribution to the Indian economy is via the service sector, that is the tertiary sector. Okay, service industry has increased like anything. So tertiary sector, service, administration, transport, etc. Then next you have the quaternary and the quinary sector. Now these two sectors, please understand. Okay, quaternary and the quinary sector. What do you mean by quaternary and what do you mean by quinary sector? Okay, these are the latest development. Whatever research and development you have, R&D, the intellectual processes you have, okay, that falls in the quaternary sector. So based on high intellect and high level of knowledge, example IT, R&D, okay, that is going to be the quaternary sector. Fine. So you prepare some software which is going to automate certain things. That is quaternary sector. Next you have the quinary sector. This is the highest decision making sector, quinary sector. Highest decision making sector. What do you have over here? See, understand one thing, I'll give you an example. Aadhaar card, everybody might be having the Aadhaar card, but the decision as to how to go ahead with the Aadhaar card, how to collect the data, okay, fine, how to go ahead with the biometrics for the Aadhaar card, okay, that decision, the government just wanted a unique identification number. So how to go ahead with that identification number? So for that, government had its own think tank. It also roped in some private players like Mr. Nandan Nilekani from Infosys, okay, and they all decided, okay, fine, this is how the Aadhaar card should be. Now that highest decision making level is known as the quinary sector. So today you need to have this highest decision making sector. Why you need it is because, see, now it's all artificial intelligence. Okay, technology has just penetrated each and every aspect of our individual lives. Okay, so without technology we cannot sustain ourselves today. Technology is that important. But there are certain misuses of technology. Okay, our data, whether it has to be safe, whether it is safe or unsafe, that has to be decided. There has to be a decision making authority which is going to govern everything. Okay, so that highest decision making level, that okay, how is Google going to go ahead with my data? Google might be having my data, your data, everybody's data. How does Facebook go ahead with the data? Okay, how do social media platforms like Insta and all those things, they go ahead with my data? Okay, so for that, there has to be a decision making level, which is the highest decision making level, which will include the governments, okay, the universities, the corporates, the private sector, everybody, okay, and that level is known as quinary sector. We had COVID. So in COVID, we had to go ahead with the decision. What should be the vaccine? How should be the vaccine? Which vaccine should be introduced? So this decision was taken by everybody, the WHO, the government, the private sector, Serum Institute of India, the private sector, everybody were involved in going ahead with the decision. So that becomes a quinary sector. Okay, so have you understood this? Quaternary and quinary. Okay, primary, secondary and tertiary, these are the basic primary sector, these are the basic three sectors which will define your GDP, okay, the national income. But you also have the quaternary and quinary sector, the decision, okay, or whatever happens in the quaternary and quinary sector, definitely it affects the rest of the three industries. Fine. So these are the different sectors based on business, according to business. Okay, now we'll be doing this in detail, but just an example, the primary sector today, it contributes 18.3% of the national income, the GDP of the country. Primary sector today. Out of this, agriculture itself contributes 17%. Secondary sector, the contribution of manufacturing sector is, secondary sector is 25.3%, and today the tertiary sector contributes the most, that is 56.4% of the GDP. Now this is a factual data. This is a factual data. Okay, once you have understood this concept, what is a primary sector, what is a secondary sector, okay, once you have understood this concept, okay, then it's easy to mug up and understand this part. Okay, so primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector, you know what it is, then you go ahead with the data. Okay, what is the contribution of primary sector, what is the contribution of secondary sector, and what is the contribution of tertiary sector? Ha data tumhala yeto, questions based on this data you will be getting it. So you mug up this thing. Okay, again, economy is easy, only two aspects: understand the concept, mug up the data. That's all you'll be requiring for your exams. Understand the concept and mug up the data. Fine. Now, continuing. Okay, see, this is again data. Year-on-year growth rates. So what is the value added by the primary sector? What is the growth? Okay, every year the national income is increasing. But what is the value added? Value addition of primary sector? It increased by 5.9% in 2022-23, 2.7%. So it fell over here. Then again, the percentage growth of primary sector was 24-25, and the percentage growth of primary sector in 25-26 is estimated as 2.7. Same thing for secondary sector. Look at the way the secondary sector is growing. Okay, the growth rate of secondary sector, percentage growth rate of secondary sector is huge. Okay, also the tertiary sector, the growth rate is huge. Okay, it is in the tune of 9, 10, 11%. Okay, fine. Look at the primary sector. The growth rate of primary sector, since it's dependent on nature, okay, the growth rate is around 4 to 5%. So primary sector is growing just at 4 to 5%. Apna agriculture jo hai, animal husbandry, but manufacturing, tertiary sector, it's growing like anything. Today in tertiary sector, service sector, okay, there are many services which we use, okay, lot many services, fine. So that service sector is increasing like anything. The percentage is high. Okay, so this is the difference in the growth rates of the three sectors: primary, secondary and tertiary. Okay, then sectors of the economy according to ownership. Okay, according to ownership, what are different sectors? One is the public sector. Public sector means owned by the government. Okay, second is the private sector. It means owned by the private persons. Okay, so this academy is owned by the private person, so it's a private sector. Then cooperative sector, this is a special kind of private sector. Cooperative sector, this is a very, very special kind of private sector. So what happens in cooperative sector? Many people come together and they own an entity. Okay, many people come together and they own an entity. So that is a private sector. That is a private sector. It is a private sector, but it is a special type of private sector wherein each person will get one vote. Okay, so suppose there are 15 persons who have started an industry. Each person will get one vote irrespective of how much money that person has brought in. Fine. So this is a special type of private sector because these 15 persons are private people. Okay, but they are going to run the business on cooperative basis. Therefore, it is known as cooperative sector. And the third is joint sector. Joint sector is equal to private plus public. Okay, private entity plus public government entity both coming together. That's a joint sector. A basic example, Maruti Suzuki. Okay, Maruti part of that company is government owned and Suzuki is a Japanese company. So a Japanese private company and Indian government come together to establish the plant known as Maruti Suzuki. Fine. So according to ownership, these are the sectors of the economy, and according to business, these are the sectors of the economy: primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, and quinary. Okay, fine. Now that you have understood, the basic concepts of economy, okay, chote mote basic concepts of economy, we'll go ahead with one of the most important topics which is asked for your exam, that is national income. Okay, now two aspects again: the concepts and the data. Very simple. First, grasp the concept. Okay, understand this concept. Okay, so the concept over here is, before you start with the national income as such, okay, you need to know these four concepts: GDP, NDP, GNP, and NNP. You need to know these four concepts. One second. Okay. So, if you want to know national income, basically you need to understand these four concepts first. So first we'll focus on the understanding part, the four concepts, the understanding part. First is GDP, gross domestic produce. Okay, first is GDP, gross domestic produce. What is gross domestic produce? See, understand one thing. Let's simplify. What you need to know is that, see, this is gross and this is net. Okay, this is gross and net. So just let me. Okay, so gross and net. You need to differentiate between gross and net. Next, you need to differentiate is between domestic and national. So what are the four words? Gross domestic product, gross national product. Net domestic product, net national product. So you have to differentiate between these four words. Okay, gross and net, and domestic and national. You have to understand it in a comparative way. So first we'll try and understand what is domestic and what is national. What is domestic and what is national? Now please understand this. Gross domestic product. What do you mean by domestic product? Okay, definition goes as the sum value of all the goods and services produced within the domestic territory of the country. Okay, within the domestic territory of the country is known as gross domestic product. Okay, so what does this definition tell us? This definition tells us that, okay, fine, if this is this classroom is a country, whatever goods and services are produced in this classroom, okay, the value of these goods and services produced in a financial year, that is the GDP of the country. So if this classroom is a country, what have we manufactured in this country? The camera, the laptop, the screen. Okay, if in this financial year we manufacture this thing, the tables, the laptops, the mobiles, the notebooks. If you manufacture these things in one financial year, you just go add the value of each of this. Okay, notebooks, itna value, pen, itna value, mobile, itna value, computers, itna value, camera ka itna value. Okay, and once you add this value, that becomes the gross domestic territory of the country, within the domestic territory. Whatever you produce within the domestic territory, the sum value of all the goods and services produced within the domestic territory of the country, that becomes the GDP. This is very important. That becomes the GDP. Then what is national? Now, okay, to understand national, we'll just take the help of commerce. Okay, a topic from commerce, that is factors of production. Okay, so to understand national, we'll just take the help of that topic, that is factors of production. In commerce, we always learn that, or even in economics, we learn that there are four factors of production: land, labor, capital, and fourth is entrepreneur. So there are four factors of production: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Now, when you have these four factors of production, okay, everything is grouped in under these four factors. Whatever you need to produce, it will be grouped in these, categorized in these four factors: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Now, whenever land is put to use, for manufacturing, it will get some remuneration. उसको कुछ तो पैसा मिलेगा, उसको हम रेंट बोलते हैं. उसको क्या बोलते हैं? Rent. Whenever labor is put to use, labor is going to get wages. Okay. Whenever capital is put to use, it is going to get interest. Capital gets interest, and entrepreneur takes home the profit. So rent, wages, interest and profit, ये क्या हो गया? Factor payments हो गए. ये क्या हो गया? Factor payments. So you are manufacturing anything. I'm manufacturing this pen. Okay. So where am I manufacturing this pen? In one room. So I'll have to pay rent. The land will get rent. Whatever capital I have put in, I have taken loan or something like that, the capital will get interest. Okay. I am employing two laborers. The two laborers are going to get wages. And finally, I am going to take home this profit. So every factor input will get some payment. That is known as factor payment. Okay. Have you understood this concept of land, labor, capital, entrepreneur? These are the four factors of production, and they will get remuneration as rent. Okay. Land is going to get rent, labor is going to get wages, the capital, the person who has given the capital, definitely it will attract the interest, and the entrepreneur is going to take home the profit. So these four, rent, wages, interest and profit, are the factor payments. Okay. Now, coming back to a basic definition, what is GDP, domestic product? The sum total of all the goods and services produced within the domestic territory of a country is known as GDP. Okay, the sum total of all the goods and services produced within the domestic territory of the country is known as GDP. Okay, then what is national? Okay, what is national? If, now this is a, let's take an example. I am teaching over here in the domestic territory. So whatever services I manufacture, services I produce, okay, that will be added to GDP. But tomorrow, if I move to US and over there I am delivering a lecture, I deliver a lecture to the students over there and come back over here. What has India done? India has employed its factor of production in US. India has employed its factor of production in US. Fine. Tata has, they have bought the two car brands, Land Rover and Jaguar. Okay. So we have employed a factor of production, that is entrepreneur. India has employed one factor of production, entrepreneur, abroad, because Tata is owning this. So whatever profit these companies make, Tata is going to bring it to India. Fine. That means if India employs its factor of production outside the domestic territory, we are going to get factor payments from the world. We are going to get factor payments from the world. If I deliver this lecture to US, the US persons are going to pay me in dollars. Tata has bought Land Rover, Jaguar, so whatever profit it makes, Tata is going to bring it in India. So in a sense, factors of production today are employed anywhere. India is going to employ its factors of production outside, for which India is going to get factor payments from outside. In the similar manner, the world is going to employ its factors of production in India, and we also have to give them factor payments. Basic example, we have a Mercedes-Benz plant over here in Chakan. Okay, Mercedes-Benz and all those things. These vehicles are manufactured in Pune, Chakan area. So whatever Mercedes-Benz is vehicles produce, whatever it is. But who is the owner of this plant? The person sitting in Germany. Okay, Daimler Chrysler Group is the owner of this Mercedes-Benz brand. So whatever profit it makes, the profit will go to those persons who are sitting over there in Germany. That means they have also employed their factor of production in India, and India is also paying them factor payments. So what happens is a two-way traffic. India employs its factor of production in US, in the world. The world makes factor payments to India. The world also employs its factors of production in India, and we also have to pay factor payments. It's a two-way traffic. So if now understand this, huh? So be very thorough with the concepts. Again, I am coming to the definition now. So what is the definition? If to GDP I add factor payments received from abroad, factor payments received, and I subtract factor payments paid to the rest of the world, then you are going to get gross national product. Then you are going to get gross national product. So this is the basic definition of GDP and GNP. Okay, GDP plus whatever. So within the domestic territory of India, if I say I have manufactured this cap or something like that, 100 rupees in one financial year, so this 100 rupees is the GDP of the country. But to this 100 rupees, if I add whatever factor payments we get from the rest of the world, if I have delivered a lecture to US and I have got 50 rupees more from US, so that 50 rupees would be added to this 100 rupees to get the GNP. At the same time, someone has someone in US, they have provided this online facility. Okay, we are using the Microsoft Office software, so we have to pay them 10 rupees. So what is with the national income of this country? GDP 100 rupees plus 50 rupees. India is getting factor payments from abroad minus 10 rupees which India has to pay as a factor payment abroad. Okay, so that becomes a GNP of the country. Okay, please see to it that you get this definition correct. Conceptually, we have to be very strong in economy, and factually we will mug up the data like anything. Okay, economy is very simple. Get the concept first. Get the concept. Conceptually, economy is very, it's very rational. Once you understand the concepts, everything fall in place. Okay, so GDP plus factor payments received minus factor payments paid, that is going to be the GNP, or in short you can say GNP is equal to GDP plus the difference between the two, factor payments received and factor payments paid, net factor income the country receives. Net factor income the country receives. Okay, that is going to be GNP. Okay, that is going to be GNP. So GDP plus net factor, जितना आया उसमें से जितना गया माइनस करने का. So that is the net. GDP plus net factor income from abroad. Okay, net factor income from abroad, that is the GNP. Okay, so national product is a broader concept. Domestic product is a little bit, it's comparatively a smaller product, because in domestic product we are just concerned with the domestic territory. In national income, you are in national product, you are concerned with the outside income as well. Okay, so Indians who work abroad and send money to India, that means we have employed our labor outside. In Middle East, there are many people from Kerala who are working in Middle East, so they send their money to India. That is GNP, national product. Okay, because we have employed our labor outside and we are getting the factor payment from outside. Mercedes-Benz vehicle, whatever profit it makes in India, the profit goes to the German company, parent company. So we are making factor payment outside. Okay, so ये जो difference है, जितना आता है उसमें से जितना गया, वो जो difference है, if you add this difference to GDP, that becomes the national product. I hope this is clear. Okay, conceptually you have to be clear. Okay, on Google Meet also I am getting some messages. Okay. Yes, good to know that you have got this concept right. Fine. Now, so as I told you, you need to understand these concepts. Pahila concept था domestic versus national. Now you need to know what is the difference between gross and net. Okay, I hope you have got the difference between domestic and national. Okay, now we'll go for the difference between gross and net. Okay, what is the difference between gross and net? The difference between gross and net is nothing but depreciation. Okay, see, those who are earning, they might be knowing one thing. जो इनकम देख के हम जॉब करते हैं, दैट इज द ग्रॉस इनकम, और जो हाथ में आने के बाद जो हम दुखी होते हैं, दैट इज अ नेट इनकम, बिकॉज नेट इनकम इज समथिंग आफ्टर यू सब्ट्रैक्ट समथिंग फ्रॉम द ग्रॉस. ओके, सो ग्रॉस एंड नेट में वही डिफरेंस है. ग्रॉस इज अ बिग वैल्यू, net is the value. If you speak in terms of national income, GDP and NDP over here, okay, gross national product, okay, gross national product is nothing but the value you have before depreciation. But once you manufacture something, once you have something in the economy, there is wear and tear. There is wear and tear. Okay, fine. So when there is wear and tear of the machinery, the equipments, the actual value after subtracting the wear and tear price, okay, the actual value you have is the net value. Okay, so what is the difference between gross and net? If you look at it, net domestic product is nothing but GDP minus the depreciation. Okay, NDP is equal to GDP minus. So what is the difference between net and gross? Gross is the whole value, net is the value you get after subtracting the depreciation, because in the economy there is going to be depreciation. You manufacture something, उसकी कीमत बाद में कम हो जाती है because of depreciation. कितना depreciation, कैसे depreciation, that is beyond your syllabus. उसमें मत जाना. Okay, उसमें मत जाना. But just remember one thing, that net domestic product is equal to GDP minus depreciation. So what is the difference? What is NDP? GDP minus depreciation. What is NNP? GNP minus depreciation. NNP is GNP minus depreciation. NDP is GDP minus depreciation. Okay, fine. So these are the 4 basic concepts you need to know if you want to know the national income. I hope you have understood the concept. Okay, in case you have any doubts, you can put it in the chat box. Okay, again, conceptually be very thorough. It's very easy. Conceptually be very thorough. So GDP, GNP, NDP and NNP. I hope you have got the concept. Again, if you revise, GDP is nothing but the sum total of all the goods and value of all the goods and services produced within the domestic territory of a country in a financial year. GDP. GNP is, to this GDP, if you add the factor payments you receive from abroad and subtract the factor payments you pay abroad to the rest of the world, that value you get is GNP. So GNP is a broader concept wherein you also get money from abroad, or the transaction, international transactions, they are also included over here. GDP is within the domestic territory. The name itself suggests domestic, national. And the net value you get, the respective net value you get if you subtract depreciation. That's the basic concept. NNP is GNP minus depreciation, NDP is GDP minus depreciation. Fine. So these are the basic concepts. These are the basic concepts for national income. What is the national income? What are the other different aspects of national income? It is going to follow. Wait. So now, if you want to measure, okay, kuch bhi, if you want to measure the GDP of the country, okay, if you want to measure the GDP, now this again is a concept, ki how you are going to measure the GDP of the country. Okay, the best explanation you get is if you simplify it. Okay, let us consider the example of a class. This class is our country. We have 50 students over here. This class is a country, and if this class is of 50 students, okay, how are you going to calculate the domestic product? What I'll do, I'll ask each of the 50 person sitting at, okay, fine, what have you produced in this financial year? What have you produced in the financial year? One will say I produced notebooks. One will say I produced this water bottle. Okay, so I'm going to take the value of all these products. Okay, water bottle की कितना value है, books का कितना value है, वो add करूँगा मैं, and then that becomes the GDP of the country. Okay, fine. So whatever services and goods are produced, you go for this thing, you go for the production. So if you go to the factory, Okay, if you go to the factory and fine, if you go to the factory and look at the production, whatever the production is, the value you get, okay, the value you get, whatever they have produced, that becomes the output method. So you add the value of all the producers, notebook, books, even my services, whatever it is, उसका कितना है, 100 रुपए का बुक, 200 रुपए का बॉटल, फाइन, लैपटॉप 1000 रुपए का, just an example. You add up this, that way of calculating GDP becomes the output method. This is known as the output method. Okay, now comes the tricky part. Please understand. Okay, suppose the GDP in this, let us simplify, in this financial year, okay, in this financial year you have just manufactured one pen. We have manufactured one pen in a financial year. I am simplifying the economy. In a financial year I have manufactured one pen. The value of this pen is 100 rupees. In a financial year, this country has manufactured just one pen. The value of this pen is 100 rupees. So what is the GDP according to output method? 100 rupees. According to output method, okay, factory में जाके देखोगे, factory में ये एक pen produce हुआ है, उसका कीमत क्या है? 100 rupees. So 100 rupees is the GDP according to output method. Okay. Now comes the tricky part. Where does this 100 rupee go? Okay. This 100 rupee will be distributed as, there are 3 laborers who have come for the manufacture of this pen. हर एक को 10-10 रुपया, तो लेबर को 30 रुपए मिल गया. फाइन. जिसने ये प्लास्टिक एंड एवरीथिंग सप्लाई किया उसको 20-25 रुपए मिल गए. असेंबली, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, व्हाटएवर इज, उसको और 10 रुपए गए. और बाकी जो बचा, 100 रुपए में से बाकी जो बचा, दैट वाज द प्रॉफिट व्हिच वाज टेकन होम बाय द एंटरप्रेन्योर. सो इन अ सेंस, अगर if you go for all the households in the country, and if you ask each person कि भाई तुम्हारा इनकम क्या है, that person will say I supplied my labor to this, मुझे 10 रुपए मिल गया, मुझे 20 रुपए मिल गया, ठीक है, इसका 20. ओके, ओनर का प्रॉफिट कितना? 30 रुपए. जिसने ये प्लास्टिक सप्लाई किया उसको कितना मिला? 20 रुपए मिल गया. So if you add this value, again it comes to 100 rupee itself. Okay, understand this part. Again it will go to 100 rupee itself. Why? Because this is the cost of the pen. Okay, so in this financial year 25-26, this small country has manufactured just one pen. इसकी कीमत क्या है? 100 रुपए. So what is the GDP of this country? 100 rupees by output method. But if you want to use another method, income method, so you go to each and every person in this country, in this classroom, कि बाबा तुमने क्या क्या सप्लाई किया, आपको कितना पैसा मिला. So if you add up the income of that country, of all the people in the country, again it is going to be 100 rupees. So this is the second way of calculating. Okay, this is one way, output method. The second way of calculating is the income method. The second way of calculating is the income method. So you have the output method and you have the income method. You have the output method and you have the income method. These two methods we have understood. फाइन. दोनों के हिसाब से अगर आप कैलकुलेट करोगे तो आपको 100 रुपए ही आने वाला है. नाउ अगेन देयर इज अ थर्ड मेथड टू कैलकुलेट द नेशनल इनकम. व्हाट इज द थर्ड मेथड? ओके, द थर्ड मेथड यू हैव इज सेविंग एंड एक्सपेंडिचर. ओके, सो व्हाट इज दिस मेथड? टू व्हाट विल द पीपल इन द हाउस डू विद दिस 100 रुपीज इनकम? घर वालों को सबको 100 रुपए मिल गया, तो 100 रुपए में क्या करेंगे वो? One, they'll either spend it or they will either save it. So again, in a financial year, if you add the expenditure and saving of the people of the economy, this will again come to 100 rupees. Okay, this will again come to 100 rupees. So this is the third way of calculating the national income of the country. First, output. Second, income method. And the third method is expenditure and saving method. So these are 3 methods available with us to calculate the GDP or the national income of the country. Output, income and expenditure and saving. Now please be very clear over here. Okay, India uses only two methods to calculate the GDP. One is the output method and the second one is the income method. We do not use expenditure plus saving method to calculate the GDP or the income of the country. Is this clear? India uses only these two methods, 1 and 2. We do not use this method. We do not use this method. I'll give you the reason. See, in India, not every expenditure is accounted for. Okay, ऐसे भी चलते चलते गया, चाय पिया, 10 रुपए की चाय 10 रुपए किस्से में से निकाल के दे दिया. Do I take a bill? Is this income accounted? Is this expenditure accounted for that matter? No. So there are many expenditures in this country which are not accounted for. Okay, which are not accounted for. ऐसे ही गांव में चले गए. Okay, जहाँ पे ST बस रुक जाती है, वहाँ से अंदर जाने के लिए you have those private vehicles, the jeep and everything. जीप में बैठ के मैं चला गया. I give him 10 rupees. Is this expenditure accounted anywhere? No, it is not accounted. So since many expenditures in this country, they are not accounted, we don't go for expenditure and saving method. We only use output method and income method in this country. Okay, we only use output method and income method in this country. I hope this is very clear. When every spending of money, when every expenditure becomes digital, okay, GPay, okay, or Paytm, you make every expenditure via your mobile, digital payments, okay, GPay or using UPI and all those things, okay. At that time we can use expenditure and saving method because everything would be on a digital platform where everything can be traced, okay, where everything can be traced. So at that time we can go ahead with saving and expenditure, but still even then our economy is very much in a primitive way position. Yeah, we are definitely advancing, so we cannot use this expenditure and saving. What we use is output and income. Now again over here also there is a catch. Okay, we have a catch over here. What is the catch? Okay, what is the catch over here? See, going back to the example, if I use the income method or the output method, I get 100 rupees and 100 rupees as GDP. So can I use both the methods? If I use both the methods, my GDP would be, the GDP of my classroom would be 200. Yes, first method, I go for the output. What is the output? My country has manufactured just this one pen for 100 rupees. The value of this pen is 100 rupees. So by output method, the GDP is 100 rupees. But again, I go to the people. What is your income? What is your income? What is your income? Okay, I again add up the income. It also comes to 100 rupees. So if I also go for the income method and also go for the output method, the GDP of my country would be 200 rupees, which is incorrect. I will have to use only one method. I cannot go for duplication. Okay, so you either use the income method or you use the output method. Then how does India use both the methods? We use both the methods for different sectors. Now you need to understand this. We use different methods for both the sectors. For different sectors, we use both the methods for different sectors. Wherever the product is tangible in the sense, wherever this product is, you can see this product, you can feel this product, it is tangible. Okay, you can use the output method. For example, agriculture. How much is the wheat produced? 100 quintal is the wheat produced. What is the price? 200 rupees per quintal. You can easily find out the output. 100 into 200. Yes, 20,000 rupees is the addition, output method addition to the national income. Simple. Okay, so wherever your products are tangible, there is a textile industry. So how much is the value addition or the contribution of this textile industry to the GDP? How many shirts have you manufactured? 400. What is the price of one shirt? 1,000 rupees. So 4 lakh is the contribution of textile industry to the GDP. So wherever the products are tangible, mobile, दिखता है, कितने मोबाइल प्रोड्यूस किए? 10. एक का वैल्यू कितना? 1000 रुपए. So contribution by this manufacturing sector is 10,000 rupees to the GDP. Okay, but in those places, in those areas, okay, or in those sectors where the produce is not tangible, you are producing the services. For example, today's lecture, okay, sitting in the classroom, okay, you have paid some fees for the lecture. ठीक है, चलो, you have paid the fees for the lecture. I am teaching you economy, okay, fine. You go home. When you go home and your parents ask, okay, show me what you have got. Okay, we have spent this much amount on your lecture. Show me what you have got. Can you show them anything? This is not tangible. This service, this delivery of the lecture, it is not tangible. आप दिखा नहीं सकते. आपको मिल गया, आपको यहाँ पे समझ में आ गया. Yes, उसके पैसे आप क्लास को दे रहे हो. So this is not tangible. So then how will the government, how will the economy come to know what is the contribution of this service sector, the class, the service sector to the GDP? For that, what they'll do is that, now since you cannot take a produce and just like this, you cannot take a produce, इसका क्या कीमत है? वैसे नहीं हो सकता यहाँ पे. Because you don't know the produce. Okay, you cannot feel the produce. You can feel the produce, but you cannot, it's not tangible. You cannot catch hold of the produce. Okay, it's something abstract. Okay, so in that case, what will be the contribution of this sector, the classroom sector, the coaching sector to the GDP of the country? What we'll do is that, in that case, we are going to add up the income of each and every person who is working in this sector. So I am delivering the lecture, I am the faculty, so the faculty will get payment, the person on the reception will get payment, the girl who goes for counseling, that female also gets a payment, the people who are working behind for the PPTs and the notes, okay, they will also get payment. If you add the payment of all the people working over here, that is the contribution of the coaching academy to GDP, along with the profit taken by the owner of this company or the coaching class. So you will use income method mostly in the service sector. Okay, you go to a doctor. Okay, doctor बोलते हैं चलो आ करो, हाँ ये वो, अच्छा ठीक है, ये दवाई ले लो, 200 रुपए दे दो. Now when you go home, dawai le lo means it's a prescription. You have to buy the medicine from outside. So when you go home, you have given 200 rupees to the government, to the doctor. So what is the contribution of doctor to the GDP of the country? You add the income of the doctor. That much amount of service the doctor has produced. You add the income of all the people who are attached to the coaching academy. That is the amount of, that is the contribution of coaching academy or in the service sector to the GDP. So in the service sector, mostly you are going to use, the income method. So you use the income method in the service sector, you use the output method in the sector where the output is tangible. So in India, we use two methods, income method and the output method. Is this understood? Okay, again, what is important in economy first? Catch hold of the concept. बाकी का फैक्चुअल डेटा बाद में देखेंगे, बट कैच होल्ड ऑफ द कॉन्सेप्ट. सो आउटपुट मेथड एंड इनकम मेथड. आउटपुट मेथड फॉर tangible produce, income method mostly for service sector. So banking, doctors, okay, coaching classes, fine. ये जो service sector है, okay, उसके लिए we are going to use the income method. That's all. Fine. I hope you have understood the four concepts: GDP, GNP, NDP, NNP, and along with that, we have also understood how you are going to calculate the GDP of the country by using these three methods. Okay. In India, we use only the two methods: output and income method. Fine. So okay, so this is the same output method, income method, where you are going to use it, the same explanation. Now again, there is one more very important concept. We are just dealing with the concepts over here. Fine. There are basically, now if you just go ahead with this, domestic value, whatever the value of the produce, okay, this value of the product, this value of the product. Okay, the value of this product. Okay, again we are going to simplify the economy. We have manufactured just one pen in this economy. एक फाइनेंशियल ईयर में हमने एक ही पेन प्रोड्यूस किया, उसका कीमत 100 रुपए है. But this 100 rupees valuation, this 100 rupees valuation is, okay, this 100 rupees valuation is at the factory. It is by adding all the factors of production. Okay, so you add all the factors of production. Okay, when you add all the factors of production, whatever value you get, that 100 rupees, that becomes a factor price of this product. That becomes a factor price of this product. But now, when this product goes to the market, there is a change in this price. There is a change in its price. Okay, so this is the factory. At the factory, you add all the factors of production and you get the value of this pen. It becomes a factor price. It becomes a factor price. So factor price कितना है अपना? 100 rupees. But when this product goes to the market, there is a change in this price. There is a change in this price. So price में change कैसे होता है? Government is going to levy GST on this. Now we have just one indirect tax, that is GST. Okay, so government goes for indirect taxes. Indirect taxes in the sense GST. So if government says that there is 18% GST on this, market में इसका कीमत क्या हो गया? 118 रुपए. Okay, market में इसका कीमत क्या हो गया? 118. Okay, so that is how the price changes from factory to market. There is also one more aspect to this which is going to change the price, and that is subsidy. कभी-कभी गवर्नमेंट सोचते कि यार this pen is very important for education, इसको 50% subsidy दे देंगे. Okay, so if the government gives 50 rupees subsidy, the price of this pen in the market is going to be 50 rupees plus whatever the GST. Fine. So when the produce goes from factory to market, there is a chance that the government will provide subsidy, so the price of the produce in the market will be less. The price of the produce in the market will be less. The price of this pen in the market would be less. If you add all the factors of production, the price of this pen is 100 rupees, but by the time if this pen reaches the market, if the government is providing 50% subsidy, the price of this pen would be 50 rupees. So you have got two prices. One is the market price, one is the factor price. Okay, one is the market price, one is the factor price. Now, I'll give you an equation. Market price is equal to factor price plus indirect taxes minus subsidy, if at all government is providing any subsidy. It is not always that the government provides subsidy. हाँ, लेकिन indirect tax हर एक चीज पे बढ़ता है. Okay, but if at all government is providing subsidy, you have to minus that subsidy. Only then you will get the market price. So market price of this pen is equal to factor price 100 rupees plus indirect taxes, okay, GST, minus if at all government is providing subsidy. Market price is equal to factor price plus indirect tax minus subsidy. This is the equation you need to know. This is the equation you need to know. So the value, see, we are going to find the GDP of the country. लेकिन GDP find करने के लिए क्या method से and how you arrive at a value of a product. These are some of the nuances we are trying to understand. इस पे question आता है. They have asked you question on this equation n number of times. Okay, look across combine, even Rajya Sabha or even UPSC. Everywhere they have asked you question on this equation. What is the market price? Market price is equal to factor price plus indirect taxes minus subsidy. Okay, इसका मतलब अगर मेरे देश में, if this is my country, this classroom is my country, and in this classroom, within this territory, okay, I manufacture just one pen. The GDP of my country will be the value of this pen, but the value of this pen will be two different values. I can arrive at the value of this pen via two methods. One is a factor price, other is the market price. Okay, so I have got two values for the same product, market price and factor price. What is the equation? Market price is equal to factor price plus indirect taxes minus subsidy. Okay, market price is equal to factor price plus indirect taxes minus subsidy. Okay, kindly mug up this equation. Now kabhi kabhi MPSC है ना, MPSC also evolves. एक बार उन्होंने इक्वेशन क्या पूछा था, they have given you the equation in prelims, they have given you the equation factor price is equal to market price dash indirect tax dash subsidy. उन्होंने इक्वेशन चेंज किया था. They had asked you factor price is equal to market price dash indirect taxes dash subsidy. Okay, so over here when these terms, these items, they come on this side of the equation, we all know ये basic second third में किया है that the sign changes. So in that case this was minus and this was plus. Factor price is equal to market price minus indirect taxes plus subsidy. That was the question they had asked. They had just reversed the equation. Many students, they just mugged it up. Factor price is equal to market price plus indirect tax minus subsidy. Your plus indirect tax और minus subsidy है ना, वो दिमाग में fit बैठ गया था. And when they reversed it, even then the students, they went for the equation plus indirect tax minus subsidy, जो गलत था. Okay, that's the reason I say concept should be very clear. Concept should be very clear. Okay, so what concepts have we done today? We have understood the basic concepts like socialist, capitalist economy, वो क्या होता है, उनमें difference क्या होता है. Then we have understood the different sectors of the economy: primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, quinary. Okay, what is the share of this? Just a factual information I had given you, that these are the types of facts you need to mug up for the exam after understanding the concepts. Then we have started with the conceptual understanding of national income. Okay, for that we first went through the four concepts: what is GDP, what is GNP, what is NDP, what is NNP. So you are going to find the values. So how are you going to find the values? We then understood the different methods of calculating the GDP, output, income and saving plus expenditure. वो हमने समझ में लिया. And after that we have arrived at this thing that output and income method, these are the two methods used by the country. Saving and expenditure method we don't use in the country. Obviously, I've told you the reason. And then if you're going to arrive at a value of a commodity for calculating the GDP, the value of this commodity can again be given via two ways. Okay, there are three ways, वो हम बाद में देखेंगे. Factor price and market price. So we have understood what is a factor price, we have understood what is a market price, what is the difference between the two. So if I am calculating the GDP of my country, okay, let's say there is no subsidy. So at factor price, the GDP of my country is 100 rupees. When this goes to the market, government adds an 18% GST on it. So at market price, the GDP of my country is 118 rupees. At factor price, the GDP is 100 rupees. At market price, the GDP is 118 rupees. It means market price की कीमत ज़्यादा है, but this is not always the case. If the government will provide subsidy, if it government provides subsidy to this, इसका price market में कम होगा. So please be thorough that not always is the market price has to be less than the factor price, or it has to be more than the factor price. It depends whether the government is, what kind of taxes the government is levying and what is the subsidy government is providing. Okay, fine. So not always the market price is going to be more than the factor price. एक basic example इसका, हमारा जो घर में गैस सिलेंडर आता है, okay, whatever gas cylinder we get, we buy the gas cylinder at factor price, but what does the government do? The government gives us subsidy. हमारे अकाउंट में जमा होता है वो सब्सिडी. So market में हमें ये सिलेंडर कितने में मिला? फैक्टर प्राइस से कम में मिला है, बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट इज प्रोवाइडिंग सब्सिडी. टुडे द गवर्नमेंट इज डायरेक्टली प्रोवाइडिंग अ सब्सिडी. पहले कैसा होता था, सब्सिडी जो सेलर है उसको मिलता था एंड देयरफॉर ही और शी यूज्ड टू सेल इट एट अ लोअर प्राइस. लेकिन अभी हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हम डायरेक्टली फैक्टर प्राइस पे ले रहे हैं, बट गवर्नमेंट इज प्रोवाइडिंग सब्सिडी. सो एक्चुअली मार्केट में मुझे वो कम प्राइस में मिला. सो मार्केट प्राइस कैन बी मोर देन द factor price or it can be less than the factor price, depending what are the taxes which are levied and also depending on whether the government is providing any subsidy. Is this part understood? Okay, this is very important for you to understand. These are the different concepts we have done. This chapter is not over. Okay, this chapter is not over. We are going to stop over here. Fine. See, the notes which we provide, they will be given to you in this manner that 3/4 of the page would be the notes and all those things what you have written over here, and 1/4 of the page will be given to you to write your own understanding. So those students who are offline, they can write the understanding whatever I have given, they can write the understanding over there. Okay, and along with the factual data will be provided at the end of the topic. So that note, these notes will be final. आप इतना ही मगअप कर लो, कुछ चेंजेस होंगे वो आपको करंट अफेयर में मिल जाएगी, बट आप इतना ही मगअप कर लो, that will be sufficient, okay, that will suffice for your MPSC preparations. Fine, because MPSC focuses on two aspects, one is the concept, other is the factual information. दोनों को अगर आप कर लेते हो, so no one is going to stop you your, okay, your success. Fine, so today we'll be stopping over here, but today in this week we'll be having other live lectures. Tomorrow it is going to be Ajit sir who is going to deliver the lecture, then after that it is going to be Ajay sir, then Akshay sir. So we will be delivering the lectures to you. Okay, these are going to be live, so whoever wants to go for the lectures on YouTube, also we have the Google link. Okay, in case you provide us, or you provide us your contact details, we will be providing you the Google link, and also the notes are available for students who have taken admission to the class. Fine, so today we'll be stopping. In the next lecture I will continue with the national income. Okay, and we'll finish off this topic along with the factual data, the latest current factual data, and what questions are asked in MPSC. Okay, we'll also discuss the questions. Fine, so thank you everybody, all the best for your preparation.